Back to my channel. For those of you that don't know me already, I'm Stacey and I'm a young mummy vlogger over here on YouTube. So if you are watching this, you are probably aware of my cleft series, and today is episode 3 of Jaxon's Cleft journey. So in today's episode we are going to be talking all about Jaxon being born, my labour, as well as all the little bits in between that we will get into. But to start off this video, I just wanted to say, if you do want to be a part of this cleft journey, don't forget to subscribe and turn on the bell notification so you are alerted when I do upload next. And to this cleft series, I do upload every Wednesday. So on the 24th of November 2016, Jaxon was actually born at 10:30 p.m. So my active labour was actually 2 hours long, but if we are including non-active labour, I was in labour from 2:30 p.m. on Thursday. I went into labour naturally, and it was an all-back labour. The joys. With Nevaeh it was a lot different, and I did not expect back labour. When I went into labour, I somewhat had a fear of, when he's going to be born, am I going to think he's ugly? And that was just my automatic thought. And then when he was actually born, I was in awe of how beautiful he was. All those fears went away. The cleft didn't mean nothing, and I just thought he was the most beautiful human being on the planet. It is okay to feel like that. We are human after all. And just because you thought it doesn't mean it is going to be true. When I went into labour, I called my husband and he asked me, obviously, if I thought he was going to be here within like an hour or so, and I was like, no, everything's fine. It's not consistent at the moment, but I thought I'd just give him the heads up because he was working like 2 hours away at this point. I then called the hospital and they looked at my record, and because I had a 2-hour labour with my 2.5-hour labour with my daughter, they suggested I come in right away. At this point, I was a little bit further along. It was around 5 o'clock at this point, and I was like, I feel fine at the moment. I'm waiting for my husband to get home and then we will come up. When I got to the hospital, they checked his heart rate, put the baby monitor on to check that he was still active. They discovered that Jaxon's heart rate was actually dropping every single time that I was having a contraction. They just monitored it from that point, and then an hour or so after, they decided to act on this because it was literally every time I was having a contraction. And at this point, I was getting contractions every minute or 2 minutes, I'm pretty sure. For them, this was an alert that they needed to act on. So they decided, I'm not sure what the thing is that they put up there, but they put a pin putting through to his skull so they could monitor his heart rate a little bit better. This proceeded throughout the whole of my labour, and I'm just going to fast forward through this because it's not entirely a labour vlog. But when he was born, he had the cord wrapped around his neck 2 times, so that is why his heart rate kept dropping, because every time I had a contraction, the umbilical cord kept pulling and pulling, and obviously making his heart rate drop. So yeah, other than that, my labour was pretty smooth. So obviously when he was born, he needed to be resuscitated, and from there he went straight to NICU unit. That was the most daunting process. Before I had given birth, I had gotten colostrum out, so he was able to use that. And then he improved dramatically overnight, but he wasn't feeding as well as they liked. When I was in hospital, he wasn't breastfeeding, and that was one of my goals. And it got to a point where it was stressing me out, which was stressing him out. So I decided I'm not going to continue trying to breastfeed while I'm in here with him, because being in hospital alone is stressful, and having all these nurses trying to force you to breastfeed and help you and monitor you while you're breastfeeding was a daunting process. So I decided, no, we are going to use that bottle that I showed you in episode 2. If you haven't already seen that, make sure you go and check that video out. So yeah, we decided to use that bottle to be able to feed him consistently. From there, he stayed in the NICU unit for 4 days, and on the 3rd night we got to actually stay with him in a separate room. We got to have him in that room with us, and then the following day we got to bring him home finally, which was the most amazing thing ever, because at this point his sister had not met him. So now that that part is out of the way, I told you before that one of my biggest worries when I was in labour was that I was scared I wouldn't think he was beautiful or whatnot with the cleft. That is the most stupid thing. It sounds very easy, and it is. You can have all these doubts in your head, but the second you lay an eye on your baby, you automatically become that biased mum that thinks your child is the most beautiful child in the world. So my advice to anyone that is going through this and is about to have a cleft baby is just to stay positive. Even if you have those doubts at the moment, all of those doubts will completely wash away once your baby is in your arms and here. So yeah, that is the number one tip I have about your feelings and your doubts about how your child will look. The second worry I had was not being able to breastfeed. So obviously when he was in hospital, I was exclusive breastfeeding. So I was pumping and then feeding him every 3 hours through a bottle. My milk supply was amazing. My colostrum was amazing. So that was all good. And I did end up breastfeeding in the end, so spoiler alert, which you will find out a bit more about in next episode. So I did have that worry, but I think worrying made it a lot harder and putting a lot of pressure on myself. So once I decided, no, I'm not going to be breastfeeding in the hospital, I'll pump to feed him every 3 hours. Once I made that decision, a lot of that stress of I can't physically breastfeed him went away. So it made the process a lot smoother. And then when I was home with him in the comfort of my own house, I got to try again. And I knew from the beginning when we found out he had a cleft that there was a chance that I wouldn't be able to breastfeed. So it was like I already knew that, and I stuck my guns out and I pushed through it. That is the one thing that you have to do as a parent, mother, father. You just have to stick to your gut instinct and know what's best for your child. Those are the two main tips that I have for anyone that is about to have their cleft bub. Just know you are not alone. There is people that are going through the exact same thing that are willing to talk about it. And that pretty much sums up this video. As I said before, if you do want to be a part of Jaxon's Cleft journey, don't forget to subscribe, because I do upload a new episode every Wednesday. And if you did enjoy this video, don't forget to give it a huge thumbs up, because it really supports my channel. And until next time, I'm going to leave it at that. Bye for now.